never met someone who deserves the day the way that you do. Joseph, it's time to get ready and the spotlight's shining down upon you. Joseph, so be fast, hold firm. I'm on my way, yeah, here it comes. And I'm delivering a wish for you, so get ready, from every peak and valley they're telling you to get ready, 'cause here it comes. It's on the way. It's a celebration across the nation.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is CeeLo Green, and you are now tuned in to Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, he is not famous at all. Check out this new streaming show. It is perfect. And if you don't, fuck you.
Am I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I've got big ears.
Brian doesn't want to see anyone else. Piss off!
That's the one, because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian. So
Hey, Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date. Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How did I do
insane!
that?
You're insane!
Today, let me tell you, today is a good day. Today is a great day. Today is a wonderful day because, well, Guy Kawasaki is on the show. And let me tell you, this is a man that I've been wanting to get on the show for a long time. Guy is a bit of a legend. Look, you know, sometimes people refer to me as, well, they refer to Guy certainly as a legend in his own time. Me, they refer to as a legend in my own mind. But, you know, Guy has led the way and created an entire new category, called the Chief Evangelist. He did it with Apple. He's doing it with Canva. We're going to talk to him about his latest book. I believe it is his 16th book, and he says his final one. I'll believe it when I see it. I think maybe it was Peter Drucker was once asked, once upon a time, which was his favorite book, and he said the next one. So when I asked Guy, which is his favorite book, hopefully he's going to be saying the next one. You know, Think Different. It changed everything. It changed lives. It probably changed my life as well. And it's not a coincidence from Think Different to Think Remarkable. A little bit of grammar, a little bit of syntax, but the ability to put two words together to create something that is certainly really, really powerful. Now, as I've started off every episode with my why statement in 2024. As a teacher, facilitator, and coach, I help high aspiring entrepreneurs, owners, and their leadership teams get unstuck, return to growth, and become forever changed. When we talk about being stuck, well, I started the show. It was called Corona TV at the time. It is now called Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. I started it when people were stuck at home or stuck in general. And of course, you know, the antidote to being stuck is to be unstuck. And if you want to be unstuck, if you feel I'm helping you get unstuck, please do subscribe to the show, bit.ly/subscribe to the show. I started coaching last year, helping small and medium businesses, helping growing businesses grow. And if they were struggling to grow or hitting the ceiling, helping them again kind of get unstuck and break through that ceiling through EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. And finally, what does it mean to become forever changed? Well, that's the title of my new book, Forever Changed, how a global pandemic changed my direction, my purpose, and my life. And in many respects, when we think remarkable and we think about forever change, this is a good time to be having a conversation about changing, about looking at yourself, about introspecting, about being able to take stock and be able to take inventory in terms of, are you living your life's purpose? Are you living your why? Are you making a difference? Will you be remembered? Will you ultimately leave the world behind in a better place than when you found it? And so now, speaking about leaving the world behind in a better place than when you found it, today's seated soliloquy is called Remarkable. Now, I got to tell you that I went into the dictionary definition of the word remarkable, and this is what I came up with. This is what I started to see. I was like, what is it to be remarkable? And something kind of hit me like a little bit of a ton of bricks, which is this idea of inciting remarks. It is something so extraordinary or exceptional as to invite comments. In other words, something that is worthy of a remark, something that is extraordinary, something that is different, something that is not on the baseline, something that is maybe an outlier. I remember Seth Godin turned around and, Seth, he said advertising, what was it? Advertising is the tax we pay for being unremarkable. There have been many thought leaders and many visionaries and many disruptors that have cottoned onto, that have sunk their teeth into the power of being remarkable, able to incite, to elicit, to extract, to excavate, if you will, a remark. So I'm looking forward to Guy coming on and remarking on my remarkable. I don't know that the soliloquy was remarkable, but certainly the idea behind what it is to be remarkable and what it is to think remarkably. Guy Kawasaki is the chief evangelist of Canva and the creator of Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast. He's an executive fellow of the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley, an adjunct professor of the University of New South Wales. He was the chief evangelist of Apple and a trustee of the Wikimedia Foundation. He has written Wise Guy, The Art of the Start 2.0. If that is not on your reading list or on your book stand, it needs to be. The Art of Social Media, Enchantment, and 11 other books. Born in Honolulu, Kawasaki has a BA from Stanford University, an MBA from UCLA, and an honorary doctorate from Babson College. And I feel like he's just getting started in life. Please welcome Mr. Guy Kawasaki. Guy, welcome to the show.
I guarantee you, I'm not just getting started in life. I'm ending life soon.
No, I reject that notion wholeheartedly, my friend. We're going to talk about your two truths and a lie momentarily, and we'll have to figure out which one, in fact, is the truth, which two are the truth, and which one is a lie. But I'm curious, what did you think about the soliloquy on being remarkable?
It was a very good soliloquy. I didn't know what a I can't even say it. See, I didn't know what a soliloquy was until this morning. So now, I've already learned something, and that's a good podcast when you learn something in the first 5 minutes.
Well, and what about the definition? What about this idea of something worthy of remark? How do you feel about that?
I think that it doesn't, or it understates the necessity of positive or, something good happening, because there are a lot of things that are worthy of remarks that are not good. I mean, at an extreme, you could say, well, the Congress of the United States is worth remarking about, but I would hardly call it a remarkable political body, right? So I'd like to inject the value of it's good it makes the world a better place, something along those lines.
So I suppose we could qualify and we could call it remarkably good and remarkably bad and remarkably ugly. But of course, what we are referring to and what you are referring to is remarkable in the most aspirational, creative, motivational, transformational. It feels like the Muppets, right? Multiplicational. That's what we're talking about. This is the Muppet Show at the end of the day, is it not?
You you are a human LLM.
Human. Well, I was on your website earlier and it was remarkable because I could ask Guy Kawasaki any question. And some of the questions I think might have been a little bit inappropriate, but I think there was beautiful integration there in terms of being able to connect with you even on this, 1 or 2 dimensional website. How's that working out for you by bringing that little bit of chat?
Well, I did it
into
more as an exploratory, mental exercise. So what we're referring to is there is, believe it or not, Kawasaki GPT. And Kawasaki GPT, the data sources are my books, my writing, my video, and the transcripts of all of my podcasts. So you could make the case that LLM is Guy and his guests on the Remarkable People podcast. And I'll tell you something, it is really, really good. I mean, I obviously have tested it and it gives answers better than I would. So here's a little known secret. Many times I'm asked to write a blurb or a foreword or write an essay. And guess what? Stop number 1 is I go to Kawasaki GPT and I write a prompt about what I have to do. And I see what Kawasaki GPT does and I copy and paste it and I work from there. So I go and ask myself questions to get myself to answer.
So it's a good opportunity to talk to you because, you're someone who is credible, qualified, tenured, experienced in the power of human ingenuity, even going back to the Apple days. Now we're at this interesting point in, fork in the road. As Yogi Berra once said, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are specifically about the automation, the AI revolution and what it will do to creativity, human ingenuity, originality, etc.
Well, first of all, I would not consider AI or at least LLMs, certainly not Kawasaki GPT. I don't consider it automation. In my mind, automation means that, it's hands off, you do nothing, you just let it go. And that's not what AI is, at least for me. So AI for me is a research assistant, 24/7 by 365, infinite wisdom, infinite patience, no attitude, no criticism. So I think it's just a great research assistant. Now, it's not like I said, I wrote a prompt that said, give me 75,000 word book about how to be remarkable and divide it into 9 chapters. And 30 seconds later, my book was ready. So I used it as a research assistant. And I think that as a creative person looking forward, you have to use all the tools that you can. And if you were an artist, back when Macintosh first came out and you said, this digital artistry, this Mac Paint is bullshit. We can't use that. It has to be me and my rapidograph or me and my canvas or me and my brush. The world would have passed you by. So, you got to use all the tools at your disposal. And as a writer, I think my responsibility is to create the best book I can to help people make a difference and be remarkable. That is very different from saying, I want to create the best book that I can, not using artificial intelligence. For my readers, they don't care if it's LLM that helped me or it's Madison Neismer, my co-author, or, well, what do they care? I mean, they just want to be more remarkable. That's what they care about. And God bless them. If I use AI to help you make more remarkable, be more remarkable, I'm happy to do that. I'll do whatever it takes to help you be more remarkable.
You know, I had the last episode of the show was a I don't know if the word is a master, a teacher, an instructor of Krav Maga, and Krav Maga is essentially do whatever it takes to win and neutralize your opponent in 8 seconds. And in many respects, what I'm hearing from you is almost this very interesting straight line, which is, you know, what do they say? Shake what your mama gave you, right? All the tools that you have at your disposal, shame on you, shame on us if we're not using them. If we have an opportunity to paint a beautiful tapestry with all these colors, going back to Apple's different colors and, you know, the introduction of iMac, why wouldn't we color and tell stories and paint
Exactly.
in
Well,
full color, in Technicolor?
I'll give you another metaphor. So let's say that you're going out to a restaurant, and this restaurant has a great reputation. I don't know, three-star Michelin. I don't know how many stars is the limit because I'm not a foodie, but let's say it's the highest rated Michelin restaurant. So do you go back into the kitchen and say, hey, I see you using I see you using a food processor. I see you using an electric knife. I see you using a microwave. I see you using a convection oven. I want you to use only a knife. I only want you to use charcoal and wood. You know, that's how I want my meal. Absolutely not. You know, what do you care if they use a food processor to make your salad or make your souffle? I mean, or a electric mixer. Is that cheating?
You know, I was as you were talking, and I wrote this word down as you were talking. I wrote the word purist, and what you're clearly saying is there's no value in being a purist.
I didn't say that, but okay.
Well, so I wrote down purist. Well, I'm glad. So I want you to jump in. And I wrote down purist and then versus an idealist. And I was thinking, in context, right? The purity of the, you know, of the art does not deserve the technology, does not deserve, you know, what comes next. So we'll jump in. I mean, disagree with me, or what is the difference between purism or being a purist and idealist and maybe what you're talking about?
Well, I think the first thing we have to comprehend is that I am speaking solely for myself, right? So I'm telling you that I believe my number one responsibility is to write a great book. And I will use every tool that I can, not plagiarism, but every tool that I can to write the best book that I can. Now, there may be another author who says, no, you know, I believe that I need to write with a Mont Blanc fountain pen with an 18-karat nib with indigo ink on parchment. And that's the book I can write. And that's the best way I can write. To which I would say, you know, God bless you. That's how you want to do it. You do it your way. I'll do it my way. And if your readers want to know that you're such a purist, that this book was drafted with a fountain pen only, not using any references, not using any other outside sources, hallelujah. Who am I to judge you? But I'm just telling you, when you read something that I wrote, I used everything that I could. That's, in a sense, it's my form of purism. My form of purism is I used everything I could. My cause is pure. The best book I can write.
My cause is pure, as opposed to being a purist. I always find a quote for my guests, and I typically bring it a little bit later in the show. But in this case, I wanted to bring it. I wanted to bring it in now because I was looking for a quote on being remarkable, and this one struck me, and it's actually by Edvard Munch. One of the things I wanted to do was use AI to actually fuse Guy Kawasaki in the Scream, but I didn't do that. I didn't get around to it. I might do it if I have time later. But I absolutely love this. Why? Because it brought three beautiful worlds together. A canvas, and I thought of Canva, colors, and I thought of Apple, and then the idea of remarkable, which is your new book. The colors live a remarkable life of their own after they have been applied to the canvas. I just love this quote so much. I didn't even want to overthink it. I wanted to present it to you and say, what do you think about this quote, Guy?
Wait, what's the quote?
Oh, it's on the screen. The
Oh,
colors, the
Yeah.
colors live a remarkable life of their own after they've been applied to the canvas.
Well, I love that quote. I mean, I apologize. So, I'm using a teleprompter system. So I'm staring into the camera now, and in front of the camera is the teleprompter. And on that teleprompter is the screen. And so the screen is only about this big, and I'm about 3 feet away. So I'd have to go like that to read that screen. So
Well, I like seeing Guy Kawasaki up close. I can do that too. I can.
Well, I love that quote, and I would apply that quote. That listen, my words, which are typed in using every tool that I can, have their own life, their own remarkable life. I hope. My fingers are crossed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I saw this, the colors live a remarkable life of their own after they've been applied to the canvas. It almost seemed like once the ink is dry in your book, whether we're talking, I'm glad you brought up text, whether we create content, whether we tell stories with sound, with motion, with shapes, with colors, with pictures, with words, they take on a life of their own because of the interpretation, because of the
Yeah.
context, and I think and how they inspire. And no doubt, I mean, in your book, and we'll talk about it, you've gone out and I think interviewed or acknowledged 200 remarkable people.
It sounds like a mind-boggling number, but yes, my podcast has been going on for 5 years. So I have about 225 guests, and not everyone is in the book. There are about 70 in the book. But this book, it came about because I look back and I say, now we have 225 episodes. That's 225 hours. We have 5,000 pages of transcripts. Nobody's going to go listen to all of that or read all of those transcripts. So, Guy, you have this kind of obligation to take all that information and inspiration and whittle it down to something that a Gen Z reader could handle, which I define as about 170 pages. So that was the goal, to make it available. And in a sense, like Macintosh made computing available to people, and Canva made design available to people. And my book is trying to make remarkable information and inspiration from people like Jane Goodall and Margaret Atwood and Steve Wozniak, Steve Wolfram, Bob Cialdini, Katie Milkman, Angela Duckworth, Carol Dweck. I want to make all that information available to people to help them make a difference.
I was actually on the book's website, and I can probably pull it up right here. In fact, I'll do that right now. I'm going to pull up the book's website, and first of all, I love the fact that I've had Bob Cialdini on my show. I've had Tom Peters on my show twice. In fact, I sang happy birthday to him. And looking at some of the others, I was like, great. I look forward to some of them coming on the show as well. But I was thinking, Guy, what makes a remarkable person? First, actually, I'll take one step back. What is your definition? Let's go back and revisit again. What is your definition of remarkable? Right? I mean, going back to, I was talking about worthy of remarks. What makes a remarkable person?
Well, my definition of remarkable is that you have made a difference in the world. You have made the world a better place. I don't want people to get the idea that you have to be a Jane Goodall or a Steve Jobs to be called remarkable. You can change one person's life, one team, one stream, one classroom, one small part of the universe. My podcast is called Remarkable People, not rich people, not famous people. And my book is called Think Remarkable, not Think Rich, or not Think Fame, or not Think Influential. There are many people in my book who changed one or two lives, and that passes the test for me.
So I'd like to ask you to tell me about a remarkable person in your life, someone who we wouldn't have who we would never know who they were, but someone maybe going back into your past, someone that absolutely fits the definition of remarkable, and is worthy of being in the book, and maybe they are in the book.
Yeah, sure. So, listen, I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I went to a school called Iolani in Hawaii. And I had a high school English teacher, and he was the toughest teacher I ever had. The way he taught was you wrote essays, and this is before word processing. So you wrote essays in longhand, and he would read your essays. He would circle all the errors in grammar and diction and stuff. And he would circle those errors. So you would get the essay back. You would have to write the sentence as you had, i.e., incorrectly. Then you had to write the rule that you broke. You need a conjunction between two independent clauses. And then you had to rewrite the sentence as it should have been written. And he went and, your essays were covered with red when you got them back. And he was the toughest teacher that I had. And one of the realizations I came to in my life is that as you look back, the toughest teachers, the toughest coaches, the toughest bosses, they're the ones who taught you the most and are the most valuable. So his name is Harold Keebles. And, I'm sure that if you had told Harold Keebles that Guy Kawasaki will have written 16 books in his lifetime, he would have laughed at you. I mean, let's just say I wasn't his best student.
There's something so powerful about the anecdote, because this person, Harold Keebles, made an impression on your life. If you think about the sum total of all the people that you've come into contact with, that you've connected with, that have made an impression on you, that you've made an impression on them, and somehow Harold Keebles bubbles all the way to the top, and that is remarkable. And it just strikes me, Guy, that in our lives, I'm sure Harold was not trying to be remarkable.
Yes.
Harold was just being Harold, and
Yes.
somehow Harold being Harold made an impression that has probably, talk about 10x, 1000x in terms of amplified your voice, your approach, and your ability to not only share his story, but the way that you tell stories. It's remarkable.
Well, you open up a very good topic, which is this, that I don't want people to get the impression that this is a, quote, self-help book, and it's going to, teach you in 5 hours how to be remarkable, because that is not true. It takes a long time to be remarkable. But there's a definite chicken and egg question that I will answer right now, which is that remarkable people, they become known as remarkable people, not because they decided to become known as remarkable people. They become remarkable people because they have made a difference. They have made the world a better place. So Harold Keebles wanted to make better English students. That was his goal. He didn't want to be, quote, remarkable. He wanted to help kids be better English students and writers and readers. And I would say the same, take another extreme, which is Steve Jobs. So I don't think Steve Jobs ever woke up one day and said, oh, I got to reposition myself as being remarkable. How do I position myself as being remarkable? That's not what happened. What Steve Jobs did is he was there with the invention of the Apple I, the Apple II, Macintosh, iPhone, iPod, iPad, Apple Store, Genius Bar, App Store. And you know what? If you do that many things, guess what? People are going to think you're remarkable. So it's all about making a difference. And if you make a difference, odds are people will think you're remarkable. That's the key. That's the sequence. It's not chicken versus egg. There is a definite sequence. You make a difference, people will think you're remarkable.
I think it was Steve Jobs that actually introduced the concept of making a dent on the in the universe, or on the universe. And I was thinking to myself, there's humility in the fact that there is a dent. There is a BHAG or grandiosity in terms of actually thinking you can dent the universe. But either way, there's a beautiful continuum of trying to just leave a mark. And I think this proves your point, because different people at different times are going to be capable of making different size dents, if you will. But just to know that you made the dent, even if you didn't make a crack or break through whatever, but you left, it's almost like saying it's that beautiful analogy, Guy, of seeing a tree or a desk. In Honolulu, you go back to your old classroom and there's etched with a little pocket knife, it says, Guy was here. That's what we want. That's a dent. That's a dent in the desk. Guy was here.
Well, I never did that, but yeah, I see your point. Well, hopefully your dent is more helpful to people than carving up a desk. But okay.
Now I'm going back to Honolulu to find that desk, because this might be a good segue into Two Truths and a Lie. But I'm going to hold off on that because I want to get to the book in a moment. Let's talk about fear. Let's talk about the things that hold us back. Whilst this book may not be a self-help book, people are afraid to dare, to dream, to dent, if you will. I saw this on your LinkedIn, which I really loved. You said, "Don't be scared. It's just a book." and I was like, I don't know what he means by that, but fear and imposter syndrome and self-doubt. What do you mean by "don't be scared, it's just a book"?
Okay, so from time to time, I fall in love with products. And one of the products that I fell in love with is a drink called Liquid Death. So Liquid Death is water in aluminum cans. And the thinking is twofold. First, aluminum is infinitely easier to recycle than plastic, right? So, if you had to have water in a container, I think it's much better to be in an aluminum can than a plastic bottle for the world. So that's number one. Number two is Liquid Death's graphics make it look like you're drinking a beer. So in social circumstances where everybody's drinking, and particularly this could be for your teenage kids, if you want to fit in as, I'm partying with you, I'm drinking this. Most people seeing a can of Liquid Death would think that you're drinking a beer. And if you don't believe me, go buy a can of Liquid Death and drive on the freeway and pass a cop and see if he pulls you over, because I'm pretty confident you're going to be pulled over for drinking while driving. But anyway, so Liquid Death has a corporate slogan of "murder your thirst." And I thought, man, that's like, that is a really kind of bold statement, because it's not like many companies use the word murder in their logo. I mean, in their corporate slogan, right? And so I have a bunch of ads that say "murder your mediocrity," and another one of Liquid Death sayings is "don't be afraid, it's just water." So I saw "don't be afraid, it's just water." I said, I'm gonna do "don't be afraid, it's just a book," and so that's the origin of that. And there's a lesson hidden in there, which is you got to always have your eyes open and your ears open and your mind open when you see clever stuff. Don't be afraid to, quote, be inspired or rip off ideas. Basically, the key is knowing what to rip off.
Well, yes, it is, and that's the art, and sometimes maybe something that the GPT might miss. We actually got a comment because I was streaming today, playing around on X and Instagram. Liquid Death has some dark contexts. Wow, yeah. Sometimes you got to be a little bit dark. I mean, you and I are good contrast today. We've got dark and light. We've got, but yeah, sometimes you got to go there and press and push and just see how far you can go.
Well, I think, if you think about it from Liquid Death's point of view, "murder your thirst." I mean, that's kind of a hard slogan to forget, right? I mean, as opposed to like, what's Crystal Geyser's corporate slogan? What's Evian's? What's Perrier's? I have no idea. I don't even know if they have corporate slogans. For all I know, they're part of Pepsi or something. So, but "murder your thirst." I mean, once you hear that, in fact, look, I even have a can right here. Liquid. See, when you're drinking this, Doesn't this look like you're drinking a beer?
Yeah, totally. And I can actually say this episode brought to you by Liquid Death, Murder Your Thirst. You know, Joseph
And
Jaffe and Guy
I own
Kawasaki.
no stock in that company.
This
I'm
is
not,
not a paid
I'm not a
placement.
brand ambassador, nothing. I just like their water.
So I'm going to bring it back to this idea, you know, the power of words, and don't be scared. It's just a book. In my immediate, reaction, Guy, was that I'll ask it in a question. Are people afraid? Why are people afraid to be remarkable? So and if so, why are people afraid to be remarkable? And just before you answer, I want to create a context. You know, Scott Galloway has been certainly doing a lot of work on mental health, and you know, we're going through a time of social media backlash. Our youth are afraid to stand out, to stick out their neck. I would argue that they are afraid to truly be remarkable, and that seems like a real travesty. So there's a lot to unpack there. You know, it's like a plate. What would you like, Guy? I've served up a bunch of things on a plate. Where do you want to go first?
Well, it's an interesting statement that our kids are afraid of being remarkable, and I don't know if I agree with that. I think when you make a statement, not you, but when people make a statement like that, it's not a scientific statement, right? It's like it's your feeling. It's based on your random, not scientifically valid sampling, right? And for all I know, let's say we go back to when I was a teenager. So I was born in 1954. So let's say it's the mid 70s, and my parents say, kids these days, they're afraid of being remarkable. Like my kid, all he wants to do is play football in high school, and he's a B student, whatever. He's afraid of being remarkable. But I bet you every parent, every generation said that. And like I can tell you a lot of remarkable young people right now. I mean, there's a woman named Olivia Juliana from Houston, Texas, who's a political activist. Well, we have people in Congress who are Gen Zs. I mean, there's a lot of remarkable people. So I don't know if I would go around saying people are afraid to be remarkable. Or I certainly don't think they're any more afraid of being remarkable now than they were in the past. My general take on nostalgia is that it's overrated.
That's a nice little line. Nostalgia might be overrated, but this idea, I guess, where I was playing around is this notion: when people read the book, when people hear you speak, when people start to go through these 9 chapters, do you feel that the average person can see themselves in this tapestry, in this beautiful collage that you are creating? Do people truly want to be remarkable? Maybe it's a different way to ask the question.
Well, I don't know if people are laying awake saying, I want to be remarkable, but I do believe there are people laying awake saying, I want to make this world a better place. And it could be making it a better place for one's own family, or a high school teacher wanting to make his or her students, more remarkable and help them make a difference in the world. I think, generally speaking, don't we all want to make the world a better place? And again, you don't have to be Jane Goodall or Steve Jobs. I mean, in particular, I would say that one of the professions I respect the most is teaching. And I got to tell you, all the teachers I know, they want to make the world a better place. And, you're never going to hear about them as being the richest person in the world. And, they're not on the runway in Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. But I think teachers as a profession, they are the most remarkable people.
There is a concept that as I was doing a little bit of research, I saw associated that you were referring to, and that's the concept of ikigai. Yes. And I hadn't even later in my life have I picked up the concept, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, because when we try and figure out our place in the world, and ultimately let's use your definition of remarkable, which is making a difference no matter what it is, as much of a difference as you can. How does and where does ikigai fit into this philosophy?
Sure. So ikigai is a Japanese word, and it roughly translates into sort of your reason to exist, your reason that you get up in the morning. And I think it's often used with artisans and craftspeople that, their ikigai is to make the best samurai sword, or their ikigai is to make the most beautiful pottery. I will tell you that my ikigai is my podcast. So it doesn't have to be something you do with your hands. And, Julia Cameron's ikigai is increasing people's creativity. And I think that this is something that it went from an interest into a passion. And as a passion, it is kind of your reason for living. And that is a beautiful thing when you can discover it in your life. I wish everybody could find their ikigai. And many people who do truly remarkable things are doing it with their ikigai.
So I'm gonna ask you for a little bit of advice right now,
Okay.
Guy to Joe. When I look at the show, for example, started it, as I said at the beginning, when March 2020, when people were literally stuck at home or stuck in general, felt like this is what I was put on this earth, this planet, to be a talk show host. In my new book, I say, hello, I'm Joseph Jaffe, and I'm a talk show host. There's no question that this is my life force. I've even said in my book, where I talk about Steve Jobs, that I will not stop until I drop dead. Forget about murder. But this is just about, like, I will not stop. I think I'm getting better at it, and that's a work in progress, but I absolutely subscribe that I know what I'm doing. I do believe the world needs HPO, hope, positivity, and optimism. And if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. But where I have fallen back and fallen down is the monetization. And I've almost felt, Guy,
Haven't we all?
as a purist, right, that I don't want to. I want to be the artist. I'd prefer not to be the struggling artist, but I just want to focus on the art. And I know at the back of my mind that I have fallen back relatively and failed at the monetization. But that means that's not ikigai if I'm 3 out of 4. What do I do?
Wait. Why? What if you fail at monetization? That doesn't mean that's not ikigai. Who told you that?
That's what I thought. I thought that if I'm 3 out of 4 and I haven't figured out how to get paid for it, then I'm not in that middle. I'm not in that beautiful.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. So I don't know what the 4 are, but when people discuss ikigai, many of them say that ikigai is if you draw a Venn diagram, it's what you're good at, what you like to do, and what you can get paid to do, right? And if you draw those 3 things, what's in the middle, the overlap, is your ikigai. I think that is a Western interpretation of ikigai. I don't necessarily agree with it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that I'm a Buddhist monk and I studied at Mount Fuji and, I've been chanting and I have been, whatever, all that stuff. I'm just telling you that in my personal experience, when you find yourself doing something that you truly love, that you're not that good at, and you cannot make money, but you still do it, I would say that's ikigai. Because anybody can, quote, love something that is easy and lucrative. But if you can love something that is hard and not lucrative, that's the true test of love. So for me, and let me tell you something. I don't know how to monetize my podcast. I used to have a sponsor, the Remarkable Tablet Company, and they sponsored me for 2 years or so. But after that, I've been going 5 years. I don't think I've had a sponsor. I've had no revenue for my podcast in maybe 2 or 3 years. And I don't know how you do your podcast, but I do my podcast. It's a very expensive process. I lose a lot of money doing my podcast. Now, knock on wood that I did other things where I can afford to have this expensive hobby and habit. The way I look at it, some people play golf, some people buy expensive cars, some people collect art, some people are gamblers, some people are alcoholics, some people are drug dealers, some people have multiple mistresses. I have podcasting. Okay, everybody has their vice. And I would say that, the fact that you and I love something we do and it's not lucrative is a very good test, right? I mean, to take an extreme, let's say you have on your show a person who is the CEO of a hedge fund or private equity, and the guy or the gal is saying, I just love hedge funds. I just love arbitrage of, borrowing money at 2% and then paying out 1.5%, and I make the spread, and I buy undervalued assets and I cut them apart and then I sell them for more than each part is now worth more than they were together, and that's my ikigai, and I'm a billionaire, and now, my life goal is to find all the plagiarism in college presidents because I think that is the greatest threat to society. So I'm the plagiarism guy. Yeah, I mean, okay, you want to tell me that's your ikigai, God bless you, but let's just face it, you want to make a lot of money. That's all you want to do. You're not making the world a better place. You think a hedge fund makes the world a better place?
You know what? I have to tell you, first of all, I'm going to give you the air horn for that, that beautiful, pseudo keynote / rant. But as you were saying it, I was like, okay, I got it. You didn't just define ikigai, you created ikigai. So that is ikigai according to Guy Kawasaki, everybody. That's ikigai. And it's interesting because, at the end of the day, what you were saying is money without the other three is different to the three or the two without the money. And there's so many ways to build on it. So I really love that. I want to talk about the book for a second. And I actually decided to have a little bit of fun for you and with you, Guy. And so what I did was I used a little bit of Chat GPT, and I used a couple of apps, which may or may not have included Canva. I don't know. And what I did was I actually created 9 different slides: acquire the growth mindset, embrace vulnerability, plant many seeds, do good shit, get beyond eureka, sell your dream, lead by example, take the high road, and turn and burn. And then what I thought would be fun is just for, again, just a little bit more fun, because sometimes life is too serious. Let's just go to the wheel of names, spin the wheel of names, and see what it comes out at. And then, I don't know, just determine which chapter to ask you to talk about. And so there we go. Plant many seeds. Guy, tell us about planting many seeds.
I must say, I have never encountered a podcast host who picked what topic to discuss by using a wheel like that.
Why not?
Well, first of all, I've been looking at the images, and yeah, I can't tell you that's my art style, but you gotta hand it to, I mean, if nothing else, you have to say that whatever Chat GPT or Canva or whatever built those images, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's a fun thing. What's wrong with having a little fun, right?
Exactly.
So plant many seeds. Plant many seeds is my observation that remarkable people, when they make a difference, they tried a lot of different things. They had a growth mindset. They didn't just stick to one thing, although that has worked for some people too. I mean, if you look at Jane Goodall, she has stuck to one thing for 90 years. But in my effort as a software evangelist for Macintosh division about getting software for Macintosh, I learned that, you have to get a lot of software developers writing software to end up with killer apps. And if you're a publisher of books, you need to look at a lot of proposals. You need to publish a lot of books to find that one, great bestseller. And I think it's true with careers too, that when you're young in particular, you need to do a lot of sampling. And this is why I do not like the word passion, because I think passion is an overrated concept that sets too high a bar for people. You know, it's as if you're supposed to find something, instantly fall in love with it, instantly be good at, instantly dedicate your life to it. And my method is you keep your eyes and ears open, and you see a lot of interesting things, and you pursue some interesting things, and a subset of that become more interesting, and you keep applying yourself, and then maybe one or two turns into your passion and ikigai, and even better if you can get paid for it. But as we discussed, that's not necessarily the most important thing. And so that's planting many seeds. And the biological metaphor I use is that I removed a lot of eucalyptus trees from a hill by my house because of the threat of fire, and now I'm trying to grow native species oaks. And I learned that you got to plant a lot of acorns to get a few oaks. And you also have to wait 20 years. So that's the metaphor there. It's the acorns into oaks. But, you know, that tiny little acorn becomes a mighty tree, but you got to plant a lot of them.
I got a couple of riffs on that, which is one thing I wrote in my book is there's that beautiful adage that says the best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time was
now.
The second best time is now. I changed that a bit, and I said the second best time was March 2020. The third best time is now. Maybe you have to be passionate about planting seeds. And I will tell you, even though we're not going to play two truths and a lie today, it turns out that the lie that I constructed for you was ironically all about planting seeds. In fact, the lie.
Why are we not playing two truths and a lie?
Because we're going to run out of time. But but the lie was after his tenure at Apple, Guy purchased an apple orchard in California. But, you know, I just wanted to share these with you because the other two that are truths are the fact that you enjoy surfing and started at 60 years old, which I assume is in 10 years' time, you know, because you're a time traveler. And also you took up hockey late in life. Guy, there's a beautiful, beautiful analogy here, you know, about doing things later in life, you know, never being too late it's never too late to be remarkable. It's never too late to plant seeds.
Well,
I'm sure you would agree with that.
Do we have time for one more story?
We have time, of course. We have time for one more story and maybe two more spins of the wheel.
Okay. So I interviewed Angela Duckworth. Angela Duckworth is a MacArthur Fellow Award winner and also the author of a book called Grit. You can consider her the mother of grit. And she told me a story in our interview that for the longest time, she thought that her father was the big determining force in her life because her father drove her to higher standards, et cetera, very demanding father. And she said, well, as I've gotten older and older, I've truly appreciated how remarkable my mother was, who moved from China or Taiwan or someplace, not speaking English, all by herself. And then she dedicated her life to raising her kids while my father was, you know, doing his career stuff. And now that my father is gone and the kids are grown up, she has finally had time to pursue her own passions or interests. And her interest is being an artist. So at 90, she's now pursuing art. And she went to the director of her assisted living home and told her that, you know, I need another room. And the director said, so, you know, what's the matter with the room we had? Don't you like it? She says, no, I like my room, but I want another room because I'm going to turn that into my artist studio. So at 90 years old, she's turning another room at her assisted living facility into a studio. And I thought that was just one of the greatest stories that I've heard in 5 years of podcasting. 90 years old, you decided you're going to be an artist. So, you know, I started surfing at 60. So I'm 30 years from now, I'm going to be an artist.
Well, you know, and you know, I'm going to make a safe prediction that you may very well write at least one more book in your life. But all right, I'm going back to the wheel, and the wheel says we're going to spin it again and find another chapter to talk to you about. I hope, you know what, this is exactly the one that I wanted you to talk about. It's called not a burn, turn and burn. Isn't that a card? Isn't that what they talk about? Burn and turn is what they talk about in poker. But Guy, I would love you to talk about. There's a phoenix rising from the ashes. I don't know if it's burning boats, but let's talk about turn and burn.
Yeah, well, I don't know about in poker, but in surfing, turn and burn, the context is much of surfing, you're in the water and you're waiting for waves. So you turn and look at the ocean and you're trying to pick the right waves. And at some point you see a wave you think is the right wave. So you turn and you burn. And by burn, I mean, you start paddling to catch the wave. And at the end of the day, after you read a book like mine, it's full of recommendations of how to make a difference and very tactical and practical. But at the end of the day, you know what? You're not going to make a difference if you don't turn and burn and actually try something. I mean, to use a hockey analogy, you don't score 100% of the shots you don't take. And in the surfing analogy, if you never turn and paddle, you're never going to catch a wave. Another ancient Asian saying is that you have to stand by the side of the river for a very long time before a roast duck will fly in your mouth. Okay, so in other words, you got to go out there and shoot the duck. So that's what turn and burn means. And one of the things that I learned from interviewing all these people, and the lesson that I leave with the listeners and the readers, is that so much of what we do now is about optimizing a decision, big data, LLM, AI, all that good stuff. You're going to make the perfect decision. And I would make the case that in most circumstances, there is no perfect decision. You just don't know what's going to happen. You cannot know what's going to happen. So my advice is you take your best shot. God bless you. Use your data, use your AI, use your natural intelligence, artificial intelligence, whatever intelligence you got. Make a decision. And then instead of thinking about it anymore, focus from that point on making your decision right, which is very different from focusing on making the right decision. You turn and burn and you make your decision right, and that's how you'll make a difference.
I absolutely love it. And by the way, I've been paying attention because we've spoken about murdering your thirst, shooting the duck. And I just want to be very clear. We're not talking about the duck worth. Don't shoot the duck worth. Shoot the duck, turn and burn. I love it, Guy, because it's all about, decisiveness. At the end of the day, there's got to be execution. There's got to be action. There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect wave. Just go for it and make it your own. And who knows, you might just make a dent on the universe. We've got a couple minutes left, and I just wanted to ask you one final question.
Yep.
This, to me, you've been a source of, I don't know if you created I'm going to say you did, and you can either tell me you didn't or don't tell me anything, in which case I will assume you did. But the concept of a chief evangelist, I think every company, every brand needs a chief evangelist. Every agency, every company needs a chief evangelist. Did you create the title?
Well, Joseph, there was Jesus. Okay, so first there was Jesus, and then there was a 2,000-year gap. And then the first evangelist at Apple was a guy named Mike Boich, and I'm the second evangelist. So yeah, I mean, 2,000 years is a little while ago between evangelists, but evangelist, the word is a Greek word, and it means bringing the good news. So what an evangelist does is bring the good news. I brought the good news of Macintosh. It would make you more creative and productive. I'm bringing the good news of Canva, how it makes you a better communicator because it has democratized design. And so that's what an evangelist does, bring a good news. I'm bringing the good news of being remarkable, that, if you make a difference, and these are ways to make a difference, then you can be remarkable. That's also good news. So you got to turn and burn, as we just finished discussing. But that's
this whole episode to me, Guy, was good news. Today we learned about Ikigai. we actually found out that Guy's new book, I've just decided what it is, and ChatGPT didn't create it. I did. It's called The Second Coming of Guy Kawasaki. In 2,000 years, Kawasaki GPT will still be evangelizing and bringing us the good news. How's that for a little bit of synthesis for you? Please follow Guy on Instagram at Guy Kawasaki. You can connect with him, and he's creating all these beautiful ads and thought leadership and ideas on LinkedIn, Guy Kawasaki. And of course, you can follow him on X. Basically, type in the words Guy Kawasaki and you will find him. If you want to be in contact with more remarkable people and hear their stories, subscribe to Guy's podcast at guykawasaki.com/remarkable people. And of course, please go out and buy his new book. He says it's his final book. Just in case he's right, go and buy the book. And if he's wrong, then just keep buying books in the series. Guy, final word is yours, my friend.
Well, the final word is that there are people who maybe they can't afford to buy a book, or maybe they're just not readers. So Canva and I created a course called How to Be Remarkable. So it's a free online course, and it contains, the gist of how to be remarkable. And it includes videos from people like Carol Dweck and Jane Goodall and Mark Rober, Katie Milkman, Andrew Zimmern. So I tapped my friends to create videos for this course of how to be remarkable. And so between the course and the book and the podcast and all that, my ikigai of making you remarkable is going to be realized. And maybe there's even a business model for this one.
I love it. I'm willing to create chapter 10 if there ever is one. Also seeing Dan Pink and Nancy Duarte.
Yes,
both of them have been on the show. I've been very, very fortunate myself as well. And this goes back to what you were saying, Guy, which is when we come into contact with remarkable people ourselves, we can't help but have a little bit of that remarkability rub off on us. It's like pixie dust. And I hope you watching today were able to pick up a little bit of this pixie dust. And definitely please go over to Canva. What a great resource as well. The book is called, it's amazing. Just think remarkable, be remarkable. Don't be afraid of being remarkable. Don't listen to me about being afraid of being remarkable if you're a Gen Y or a Gen Z or whatever comes next. Guy, it was an absolute pleasure to have you in to riff, to hear stories from Jane Goodall to Harold Keebles.
Yes.
We did it all. We said it all. And there's one more thing as well, which is I am not the person to determine if my guest is remarkable. It's Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And he approves of you, Guy. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.
All the best.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.